Hey, what's up guys, nothingwire.com, and today we're gonna do a comparison between the today released Xperia Z2 and the Samsung Galaxy S5. Both are the flagship devices from their respective manufacturers. Both are some of the top devices ever to come out in India. And let's first check out the hardware specs wise. So the S5 screen is slightly smaller than that of the Z2. It has a 5.1 inch screen. It has a 5.2 inch screen, an IPS, super clear IPS display, and then you have a super AMOLED display. Both are full HD. So the S5 will have a slightly more color density, and you all can see it looks significantly smaller than the Xperia Z2. The thickness, well, because of the omnibalance design, the Z2 actually looks thinner, but then it's about 8.2 mm. It's also about almost the same, so that there's not much difference in the thickness or the thinness of both the devices. But because the S5 had this roundness, it kind of looks thicker than the Z2, thanks to the Z2's brilliant omnibalance design. So you have the buttons here, you have the ports for Z2 out here, then the volume rocker here, then the connector. There is no dock connector on the S5. You have eyelet for your lanyard. There is no eyelet on the S5. Then you have a USB 3.0 port here, but then the Z2 only has a USB 2.0 port, which is going to be significantly slower. And because this guy is IP67 certified and this guy is IP58 certified, 55 and 58, so both are going to be relatively water and dust resistant, and that's why you have those covered ports. The beautiful speaker on the Z2 S5 speaker is located on the back. On the right side, the S5 has the power button here. Z2 has an array of buttons and ports. So the hardware, camera hardware key, you can customize this. That's again absent from the S5. We really love this key. Then you have the volume rocker here, the metal power button, and then your micro SD card slot. Both takes micro SD card. 3.5mm jack, 3.5mm jack. You have an IR blaster. You have a noise cancelling mic, but no IR blaster. Behind you have the 16 MP camera for the S5, and then the 20.7 MP camera on the Sony. The Sony G lens, which is actually a Konica Minolta lens that Sony has acquired, should give slightly better image quality than the S5, but then the S5 image quality was amazing. So we'll have to really field test the Z2 to know whether it's any better than the S5. You have a heart rate monitor on the back here. You don't have such monitors or such things on the Z2. The Z2 back is made of glass. The S5 is plastic. In fact, almost the whole body, most of the body of the Z2 is made of glass, this side and this side, and then you have a single slab of brushed aluminum here. Brilliant design. But then S5 you have almost all plastic and then the glass here. So the design and rugged wise and durability wise, the Z2 would definitely win. You cannot open the back flap on the Z2. That's one of the disadvantages. You cannot remove the battery. You can, of course, on the S5. And then the speaker grill is situated here. Even though the speaker on the S5 is situated on the back side, but then we did not see any obstruction in the music coming out. And obviously there won't be on the Z2's case because the speakers are conveniently located. So you can have a look here. Design and look wise, I definitely like the Z2 better, but then the S5, I guess, will have more usability conveniences. So both the Z2 and the S5 are powered by Android 4.2.2. The S5, there you could see, has an always on Google Now voice command. The Z2 does not have, but that's a small thing. That's fine. The Z2 has Sony's own UI, and then the S5 has Samsung's brand new TouchWiz UI, both with brand new looks. The Sony Z2 does not differ much from the Z1, but then the S5 looks really differ, and it becomes more playful and stuff. You can see the icons and all become very playful, and what Samsung calls inspired from Diamond Cut. So both are very good, very well performed device. Because they're obviously the flagship, Samsung has My Magazine docked on the left. Nothing as such on the Z2, but then you have Watch New, which is Z2's new app. Apart from that, all your notifications bar and all basically are the same thing. They might be designed differently, but at the core they perform almost similar functions. Now the S5, one major difference is that the S5 that comes in Asia and particularly in India is the Exynos version. So it's not the Snapdragon 801 version that you get in the US and some other countries. The Z2, however, comes with the Snapdragon 801 processor, and that's gonna make a big difference in terms of performance. The Exynos processor, although it has a quad-core plus quad-core processor, which Samsung likes to call an octa-core processor, which is not a true octa-core processor basically, performs less than less than the Snapdragon 801 chipset, and that's visible in terms of gameplay and many other demanding tasks. So Z2 performance should win mainly due to the chipset. This guy also has a 3GB RAM. The S5 has only 2GB RAM. That's another big difference. The Note 3 has a 3GB RAM. I don't know why Samsung reduced the RAM on the S5 to 2GB only. So I'm just going to show you some of the apps here. Again, you would be happy to know that you would get the usual Google default Android apps, and then you have on the S5 Samsung's own in-house apps, and then on the Z2 Sony's own in-house app. You have Walkman, Album, Movies, which are like Sony's in-house app, and you have similarly those things, their counterparts in S5. One interesting thing to note here is that Sony haven't had a default browser of their own yet. They still use Chrome as the default browser. However, the S5 has a default browser plus Chrome. Just a thing to note. I mean, that does not mean any better or less. It's just that Samsung has their default browser app and the Z2 does not. Maybe they never thought it's required. And so the dialer here, both are big, both are convenient, no problem whatsoever there. The camera UIs. So both of these devices support 4K video recording. This guy has 20.7 MP resolution. The S5 has 16 MP resolution. Now I know the sensor size of the Z2 is 1/2.3 inch. I don't know exactly what the size of the sensor of the S5, but then the UI and the elements more or less looks similar. The Z2 also has the background defocus, which the Galaxy S5 called selective focus. You have time shift video here. You do not have a slow motion video on the S5, but that can be taken care of with the help of third-party apps. So these are some of the settings that you would find on the Z2 and on the S5. One significant difference here you would see is the fingerprint sensor on the S5. So fingerprint sensor is located here. There is no fingerprint sensor on the Z2. That's become kind of a fad these days. You have 16GB here, 16GB here, so that's fine. And we'll go to about phone, about device 4.4.2, and you'll also see here it's also 4.4.2. So as far as the Android version is concerned, both the flagship have the latest Android versions. So overall, the app collection are kind of similar. Performance, I'm sure the S5 is no slouch. It performs amazingly. Everything, all gaming, everything is fast. But then the Z2, thanks to the Snapdragon 801 processor, could perform slightly better in demanding games like Nova 3 or Asphalt 8. We'll have to check that when this guy comes to our lab, so tuned in for that. But that's just a quick comparison between the S5 and the Xperia Z2. They both are priced pretty similar. This guy was launched the last month for about 53,000 MRP, but then they reduced the price since, and now it also comes for about 49,000. In fact, with some online retailer you might get it for even closer to 47,000. This guy is launched at 49,990, but I'm sure right after the launch you would probably get a benefit of about a couple of thousand at least online.